Hello and welcome to another edition of Motor Cars Enthusiasts. Right off the bat on the old show today, the folks over at Lotus are in the news, or at least there's a rumor about Lotus in the news. Now, you can remember back, I think it was at the Paris Motor Show several years ago, where Lotus showed off this huge plan of building 5 brand new automobiles. And then that deal kind of died, and nothing ever came of it. Well, there's a rumor floating about on the interwebs, and a couple of other sources are actually talking about this, where quite possibly, at least my favorite automobile, may actually see the light of day. It was the Esprit concept. Now, it wasn't going to be like the Esprit from back in the day. This was going to be a mid-mounted 5-liter, normally aspirated V8 that was going to be making close to 500 brake horsepower. And I just absolutely adore the design of this particular automobile. It's clean, it's neat, and I just think it's just a fantastic looking car. So I am very much hoping that these rumors quite possibly could be true. Anything when it comes to a rumor, well, there's a little smoke, there's usually some fire floating around. So we'll wait and see what actually comes of this in the future. Next up on the list, well, official pricing came out on the brand new Nismo edition of the GTR. And it's got the interwebs all upset about this deal, thinking that it quite possibly is a little too expensive. Now, a normal GTR is going to cost you somewhere around 100,000 US dollars. So there was a lot of folks thinking the amount of work that was done to this car that it was going to be somewhere between $20,000 and $30,000 more. Well, it's not. It's going to be a little bit more than that. Official pricing on this thing will start at $151,585 US dollars. Now, to me, it still seems like it's worth it. I mean, it's the top of the tree when it comes to the Nissan GTR platform, and all the stuff that Nissan and Nismo has learned over the years have been actually put into this particular automobile. Made quite a lap time, even though it's kind of suspect as far as a lot of people are thinking that it may not be as clean and neat as that GTR's Nürburgring Nordschleife lube lap time could have been. But that being said, the car is super quick. Obviously, you're not going to get the name cachet, and $151,000 could buy you some cars where you could definitely get some name cachet. Namely, you could buy a 911 Turbo for this kind of money, and it would be a whole lot easier to brag about that at a party when you tell someone you have a Porsche. When you tell someone you have a Nissan, chances are they're going to tune you out and move down the road. So, not me, on the other hand. I would wait and see exactly what kind it actually is. So, I think $151,000 seems to be quite fair for the Nismo GTR, but the real question is will the people that have that kind of cash are going to do this? Because the folks over in Japan will probably murder this car as far as purchasing this automobile. They'll be all on board of buying this car. But will it sell around the world? It'll be very, very interesting to see what comes of this in the future. Next up on the list, well, official sinkhole update. I know I should probably have some fancy graphics for that and whatnot. But again, this is not very much of a laughing matter, and I'm sorry to make a little bit of light of this particular situation. The sinkhole that opened up and swallowed up 8 Corvettes at the National Corvette Museum is actually officially 40 to 50 feet wide sinkhole, and it's actually at least 30 to 40 feet deep. But they're talking about the 4 cars that you see in this photograph. The 4 cars that are actually underneath them could be closer to 50 to 60 feet deep into this particular hole. Now, let's talk about what's going on when they're moving forward. One of the things they have done at actually the Sky Dome is actually remove some panels to the outside, and they're actually going to move a crane into position. They're going to shore up this hole, move a crane into position to actually remove or extract the 4 cars that are actually visible as we speak. This is one of the big deals that they're going to do in this particular situation. Now, another little side story before we get to the actual 7-step program of what they're going to do between the actual contractors and the University of Kentucky that's actually helping this, with some geologists actually working in on doing this sinkhole. One of the greatest geologist organizations right there at the University of Kentucky, and they're putting full use to their knowledge about this particular situation. Now let's talk about an interesting story. This is a couple that actually live in Florida. This is Mr. and Mrs. Holenthaler. Now they actually owned one of the automobiles. In fact, this particular automobile, which is the Z06 2001 Mallet Hammer Edition. Now these particular folks actually just consigned this vehicle actually to the on loan, if you will, to the Corvette Museum. Actually, back in November, just a touch before Thanksgiving. So, sadly enough, that they made the 13-hour trip from Florida, driving all the way to check on their automobile. Now, they were kind of intrigued about this when they first started seeing the videos, and you see the first 3 or 4 Corvettes actually get swallowed up, and you don't see any more video. Apparently, that's because the power actually got cut by this, and he was pretty certain that his car actually got stolen rather than actually was swallowed up by the earth. So, it was a sad type of situation. You can tell how much love this man has for this particular automobile, how much love that the two of them have for this particular car. And it's going to be an interesting situation to see how bad this vehicle is when it comes out of this particular hole. And I'm right there with you. I feel just as sad as you are, Mr. and Mrs. Holmthaler, because that's a terrible situation. I'd hate to be in your situation. Now let's talk about what's going on as far as the STEP program about doing this right, about retrieving these vehicles and getting on with the process of rebuilding this particular facility. Now the center post of this is actually the red sphere. They're actually going to try to shore up this deal. They're going to secure and stabilize the sphere right off the bat. It's the first thing in the actual program. Then the actual first part is to try to extract the 3 cars on top. The 4th car will actually come just a tad bit later. Then they're going to try to secure and stabilize the actual hole itself. Try to make sure that it's actually safe and everything like this. What they're actually going to do to extract the automobiles, they're actually going to pull the wheels off of them, attach large pieces that they can actually pull the vehicles out by their suspensions to actually try to, not to put any more damage to these vehicles than is already entailed in these vehicles itself. Now, after they stabilize the sinkhole itself, they're going to try to extract the remaining automobiles out of the hole. It require quite a bit of digging to get down to the bottom of these things. Then they're going to bring in and explore the actual hole and the caverns and the actual caves, that, if you will, in the actual hole itself. You can see some very large holes that seem to be extending to almost nowhere. So they're going to go in there and make sure that this is not going to be something that could happen in the future again. Then actually they'll finalize the actual hole itself, make sure that they can fill it up and secure it securely, and then the final step will be actually repairing the facility itself. And then obviously those 8 cars are heading up to Detroit, Michigan, which has actually been spearheaded by Mark Royce, and then will actually be overseen by the head of design, which is Ed Welburn, actually, in restoring these particular automobiles. So it's a long road to hoe when it comes to the Corvette Museum, and we wish them all the best in this particular endeavor. And that's all there was that I thought was worth talking about for this week's Motor Cars Enthusiast. If you want to jump on over to the Facebook page, the link's down in the show notes. Also, if you want to subscribe to the channel, you can do so at any time and get the first dibs on the brand new shows as soon as they come out. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again real soon.